Hello, ladies and gentlemen. This is Prince of Strong Style 9v2, and welcome back to the third edition of my weekly Q&As. Once again, we got 3 sets of questions for this week's episode, and hopefully you guys enjoyed last week's episode. This week should be equally as interesting, if not entertaining, hopefully for you guys. And yeah, keep sending in your questions. Only a limit up to 3 questions per person. And yeah, let's get started right now. And the first set of questions I got are from Lundrick. First question is, should Hideo Itami / Kenta return to Japan later this year? I hate to say it, but minus a few really good moments and matches, I have to say yes, that Itami really needs to go back to Japan. However, that is a bit of a double-edged sword, because while Itami, from a career perspective, should go back to Japan, health-wise, it's the same. It's definitely the other end of that sword. Because if he goes back to Japan, it's definitely going to be a bit of a risk for him to an extent. While he has recovered from those 2 shoulder injuries, I think if he really wants to continue wrestling, that's fine. But in an environment like Japan, where the wrestling is way more physical and really what's it called, like brutal? I don't know what the word is, but damaging, I guess, is the word to say, where his shoulder may be at risk. I mean, he has had other injuries, but with all the injuries he's had over the years, I really think it's going to be difficult for him to actually continue on wrestling in Japan. So health-wise, no, but career-wise, yes. I hate to say it. It's a double-edged sword, but if you want me to go with one, I would say no for right now. Unless, really, it's for NXT's sake as well. So it's really difficult to answer a question like that. And the second half of that question I forgot to check was, if so, would you like to see him go to New Japan and have a little career revival similar to Marufuji? That would be pretty cool, actually. I mean, the G1 Climax is coming up next month, so if that would have been possible, Kenta would have been a really great addition to that tournament. I mean, the competitors right now are probably just as good as ever from the last few years. I mean, yeah, you still have guys like a Tama Tonga and Bad Luck Fale. You can say the guys at the bottom of that totem pole, even Toru Yano. Really, Kenta would be a really nice addition to that crew, because Marufuji and Nakajima had really good showings in the G1 last year, so Kenta would definitely be a really nice addition to that tournament, really, just to add a little bit more. Plus, we are seeing the return of Kota Ibushi. I mean, if you guys remember this tag match, it was Marufuji and Kota Ibushi versus, who was it? Kenta and Taiji Ishimori in 2007. Kenta and Ibushi had a few interactions in that match, and I would have loved to have seen a singles match between the two. So Ibushi versus Kenta would have been awesome. So there's really a lot of potential for Itami going to New Japan for a little career revival. So that would be really cool. So yeah, I would actually like to see him do that if he was ever to go back to Japan. Your second question: imagine if the WWF All Japan Pro Wrestling Summit from the 1990 became an annual thing. If so, book 3 matches on the 1994 edition. This is probably my favorite question in the entire video, and no disrespect to anybody else, because I really like your guys' questions. But for this one, it really tugs at me because I love watching some of the All Japan matches from the 90s. But let's get to them, shall we? And the top dog of himself is kind of ironic, since it actually has happened before, and it's the main event. WWF Champion Bret Hart taking on All Japan Pro Wrestling's Triple Crown Champion Mitsuharu Misawa. That would have been an epic classic. And the reason why I say it's ironic is because in 1990, at the actual Wrestling Summit, these two actually faced off, except this was when they were in the in that transitional phase, if you want to call it that, where Bret was still on the tag team and Misawa, known as Tiger Mask, I believe it was. Was it Tiger Mask? Yeah, Tiger Mask 2? Yeah, Tiger Mask 2. They were in that time of their careers where they were going from mid-carders or lower tier level to upper mid-carders to main eventers. And ironic that they both won their respective world titles in 1992. It carried the companies from then on towards the later 90s. So yeah, Misawa versus Bret Hart would be my first matchup. My second one is a very interesting one that I think not a lot of people really thought about, but my number 2 match I would put on here is a semi-main event. How could I not put the All Japan Pro Wrestling World Tag Team Champions, I believe they were the champions at the time, the Holy Demon Army of Toshiaki Kawada and Akira Taue taking on, and if this had taken place in August, I would have them take on the WWF Tag Team Champions of Shawn Michaels and Diesel. I mean, you look at the dynamic, I think in terms of just look and size, you have the big man and the smaller man taking on the big man and the smaller man. The big man in Taue and the smaller man in Kawada. The big man in Diesel versus the smaller man in Michaels. But it's funny because the dynamics are similar, but the styles are very, very different. Shawn and Diesel were a bit more of the North American fast-paced type of matches, while Kawada and Taue were more of the physical, brutal, intense, near violent type of wrestlers. So that would have been a kick-ass tag match, and I think if it had taken place in 1994, that arguably could have been one of the best tag matches, not only of the decade, but probably one of the best tag matches either team would have ever been a part of. I mean, that would have been really, really awesome to see. And for my third matchup, it was very, very difficult because I wanted to put whatever the third-tier champion was, and I don't think they ever had one, but I would like to put in one of the top prodigies in All Japan versus one of the top prodigies in WWE. And you know those top prodigies? Well, they are none other than Kenta Kobashi versus Owen Hart. While they're different in styles, they're kind of similar in positions in their careers around this time. They did wrestle main event matches throughout the years with Misawa and Bret Hart respectively, but they never reached that level until like later down the road. Sadly, Owen never reached that level, but for Kobashi, he definitely reached it in the 2000s, in the prime of his career. So yeah, this would have been a really excellent match, and Kobashi was really coming off of an amazing 1993. I mean, 1993, from what I heard, was an unbelievable year. I mean, he had several Match of the Year contenders, including some tag matches with him and Misawa versus Kawada and Taue, and 2 supposed 5-star matches, first with Stan Hansen and the other one with Steve Williams. So this would have been an excellent match to book for this show. So that would have been really, really awesome. So yeah, the 3 matches: Bret versus Misawa, Diesel and Shawn versus the Holy Demon Army of Kawada and Taue, and Kenta Kobashi versus Owen Hart. That would have been amazing to see. I would have lost my shit if that actually happened. So yeah. And your third question is, could the indie scene use more big men? And it's funny because I don't remember if it was you, Lundrick, or someone else that I told on Ask.fm, but I felt that this year has been a bit of a year where we've seen the resurgence of big men. I mean, look at it. Look at some of the big men we've seen in wrestling. And when I'm talking about big men, I'm talking about the beefy guys, the taller guys. Look at guys like Keith Lee, Donovan Dijak, Braun Strowman, a bit of the Big Show, War Machine of Hansen and Rowe, and even one other guy in ROH. I can't remember who it was. But those guys have really been delivering, in not just in terms of matches, but in terms of recognition, because those guys have been really becoming one of the more compelling parts of their respective promotions. I mean, Keith Lee and Donovan Dijak stole the show at Evolve 81 a couple of months ago. Braun Strowman had 2 damn good matches with the Big Show. Big Show has been in the best shape of his career. We've been seeing more big men used in wrestling, I think. And I feel like that the indie scene needs more big men, because, not to disrespect any of the other talents in the independents like PWG or ROH, hell, even CZW, the main problem I've noticed over the past couple of years that I never really thought about was the fact that the promotions have been way too similar in style. They've been either using European talents or high-flying, fast-paced, athletic insanity type of matches, or, you know, some brutal, bloody, violent matches. But I think that the big men definitely need a little bit more respect and a little bit more opportunities to really shine, because Because you wonder why people on the internet that act like assholes that says, oh, they're nothing more but vanilla midgets on the wrestling scene. And the reason why guys like Balor and Rollins and those type of guys have been getting recognitions in terms of the in-ring stuff, but the total package, they haven't really been gaining it. But Braun Strowman is an example of one of those big men that he is not the greatest worker, but he has been getting more attention. So for the independents is what you specifically asked for. So yeah, I really think that the independents needs more big men. And I mean, Keith Lee has been kicking ass. If you've seen some of my Evolve reviews or even my top list of the month, Keith Lee has been delivering some really good matches with guys like Ricochet and Kyle O'Reilly, Tracy Williams. He can really go with those guys. He's not only a big power guy, but he can fly. I mean, go watch his match with Ricochet. That was a perfect example of how to do a big man, little man match. That was an awesome match. So yeah, I think that the independents really needs a bit of diversity, not race-wise, but diversity in look and wrestling style. So yeah, definitely would love to see more big men in the independents, and hopefully there are, because there's really some that have been trying to get their name in the stands. So yeah, thank you for your questions. Next set of questions come from Mr. Beetle 890. Which draft show did you enjoy the most? I don't understand what that question is meaning, but if you're talking about the WWE draft, what my favorite was, I only saw one of them, and sadly it was the 2011 edition, where they did that stupid thing where they had Cena drafted to SmackDown and then drafted back to Raw. That was an idiotic decision, so I can't really go with that one. But I did hear wasn't there one in 2002? Because I didn't see it, but that was by default probably the best one. Or maybe the 2004 or 2005 ones were the most interesting in terms of the drafts. So if you're talking about those ones, I'm guessing one of those, but I haven't seen them myself, so I can't really go with one. Second question, thoughts on Christian's run in ECW? Funny enough, in 2009, I was starting to become more of a huge fan of wrestling, and I was starting to get more cable and stuff like that, so I had more outlets to watch WWE. I saw SmackDown, I was starting to see more of Raw, and once in a while I was starting to watch ECW, and while ECW wasn't a great product at the time, Christian was really the shining glimmer of hope for the brand, and I really thought that until that final decision when he dropped the title to Ezekiel Jackson in a stupid fashion, I really felt that Christian was really carrying the brand from when he returned in February of 2009, when he had those matches with Jack Swagger, to the feud with Tommy Dreamer, to the feud with William Regal, and the matches with Shelton Benjamin, and even to the matches with Ezekiel Jackson. I felt that Christian was really carrying that run, that brand of ECW, and I really liked his run personally. I don't remember too much of it, but I remember him having some really good matches, and I really enjoyed his run personally. I think it's kind of underrated, so yeah, I really enjoyed that run. And what is a WWE theme that you think is overrated? I'm not sure. I don't really listen to a lot of WWE themes right now, but I can't really seem to pinpoint one specific theme song that I think it's overrated. I really can't think of one. I honestly can't. Because either I agree with the fact that certain songs are terrible or certain songs are good. So if I have to think of one, I can't really right now. So yeah, I can't really think of a theme song that's overrated. But thank you for your questions. And the last set of questions come from Chris Jericho, the greatest of all time, a frequent asker on here. Thank you very much. First question, best G1 Climax show. Now, for those of you who have been following my channel for the last few weeks, I have been doing my G1 Climax reviews. Yes, I promise I'm working on those. I am going to finish Day 8 tonight, hopefully, and get a review out, hopefully by tomorrow morning, or even later tonight, I don't know. But, yeah, the last show I reviewed was Day 7, but if I have to choose a specific day that I think is the best, I would have to go with the default one here, the one that I would say is probably my favorite New Japan show of all time. It's arguably up there, and that is New Japan Pro Wrestling's G1 Climax 23 Day 4. that show was fucking unbelievable. Look at that card. You had Ishii Shibata, match of the year contender. Kota Ibushi versus Shinsuke Nakamura, match of the year contender. Excellent match with Tetsuya Naito versus Minoru Suzuki. You had two other great matches with Prince Devitt versus Hiroshi Tanahashi, Kazuchika Okada versus Togi Makabe. You had a damn good match with Davey Boy Smith Jr. versus Satoshi Kojima. Nagata versus Shelton Benjamin was pretty damn entertaining. Carl Anderson versus Carl Anderson versus Hiroshi Tenzan was really entertaining. And you had a very fun matchup to open the show with Yujiro Takahashi versus Toru Yano, and with that day is just freaking amazing, top to bottom. And to cap that off, you have a freaking unreal crowd that night. Every single match, that crowd in Osaka was hot as hell. My God, I fucking love that show. But if I have to come up with the honorable mentions, I would say, oh God, Day 7 of 2014 G1 and Day 8 and 9 of the 2013 G1. Now, I have heard from Grapevine that Day 8 of 2014 G1 is possibly the best out of all of them, and that's insane because I've seen a good amount of those matches on that show, like Onma Shibata and Nakamura Tanahashi, even the opener with Davey Boy Smith Jr. and Tomohiro Ishii, and even AJ Styles versus Lance Archer, and I'll get to that in my review later on. All those matches were really great, and there's still more that I haven't seen, and people have been praising that show, which is scary. So, and it also took place in Osaka, so that's what I'm really excited for as well. So, my favorite G1 Climax show, G1 Climax 23, Day 4. That show is fucking amazing. You guys need to go find it. Unbelievable show. Best indie show you've ever seen. Oh, I would have to go by default. Ring of Honor's Glory of Honor 5 Night 2. Once again, another amazing show. Kenta Danielson, 5-star main event. What was it? Nigel McGuinness versus Marufuji for the GHC title in a Forgotten Classic. Two great tag matches, one for the ROH tag title and the other with Homicide and Joe versus the Briscoes for Homicide's world title shot. Entertaining opener with Davey Richards and Delirious. Solid match with Adam Pearce versus opener was Davey Richards versus Jack Evans, sorry. And then Delirious versus Adam Pearce was solid. A pretty entertaining and very well done triple threat with Colt Cabana, Christopher Daniels, and Jamie Jacobs in the Jacob Loves Lacey storyline. So yeah, you had a lot of great stuff on that show. And I really loved it. That's the best indie show I've ever seen, and I can't think of too many that would match it, really. And your last question, will CM Punk wrestle again? It doesn't have to be WWE. I have to highly doubt it, but yeah, I pretty much say no. I don't think he ever will. I mean, even if he was given an offer from, like, let's say New Japan or ROH or even, like, other independents like Revolution Pro, we have been seeing a lot of non-WWE guys like Kurt Angle and, we've seen former WWE guys like Kurt Angle. And even Jack Swagger earned himself a match in Revolution Pro just recently. And I think Ryback's working other places, so really, I don't really see Punk really wrestling again because he's just been so bitter with WWE to the point where I highly doubt he will ever take a job or even a match with anyone in other wrestling promotions. So really, I would have to say sadly no. And really, that's it. So yeah, thank you guys for sending in your questions for this week's episode. I really enjoyed some of those questions. Although a couple of them were repetitive, I still really enjoyed them. And yeah, send in your questions, guys, for next week's edition for episode 3. Only a limit up to 3 questions, and hopefully there are going to be some good ones because I love doing this, guys. While I haven't done as much of this recently, I still really enjoy what I've been doing with these weekly Q&As, and hopefully you guys enjoy, and stay tuned for my upcoming G1 Climax reviews, and hopefully I will get some special top lists out there within the next couple of weeks. I want to try to do one possibly on John Cena, with tomorrow being the 15th anniversary of him debuting in WWE. I want to try to do one on Hiroshi Tanahashi, Kenny Omega, Tetsuya Naito, and other guys from other promotions. So let me know in the comment section below, what did you think of this episode? What other videos do you think would be good for me to work on other than my G1 reviews? And stay tuned for those G1 reviews, guys, and hopefully you enjoyed. And until the next edition, guys, peace.